to the panel and chair of the panel will be Professor Katarzyna de Lazari-Radek, that is internationalization vice rector of University of Łódź and ethic expert. So I think it's going to be really interesting panel. So I'll head to Mrs. Katarzyna.
Terrific.
Now you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me another opportunity to be with you and to work on AI. As I told you before, I'm a philosopher, and that means that we usually work on subjects as old as our thinking. I'm especially interested in the topic of a good life, happiness and pleasure. So that's an old topic. But in ways of doing that, I decided that it's even more pleasurable and even more exciting to work on AI and AI ethics, because who knows where our future leads us. Today, we are having amazing people. Professor Ashwin Itu, if you could please take a seat. Thank you so much. Professor of Machine Learning and Business Analytics at the University of Liège in Belgium. Associate Editor at Computers in Industry, and that's Elsevier. Special interest in AI and law, as we could just hear. Then we'll have Mirek Sapek. I guess you know the person. Founder of Mako Lab and chairman at the Council of Łódź University of Technology. Professor Krzysztof Pancerz, Professor of Computer Science at John Paul II Catholic University of Lublin, and his research interests include computational intelligence, knowledge engineering, and unconventional computing and computer-aided diagnosis. And finally, we have Professor Artur Modlinski, head of the Center for Research on Artificial Intelligence and Cyber Communication at the University of Łódź, and I'm very happy that's my colleague as well, so we work together. I will keep standing. So philosophers usually start with definitions, and AI just means artificial intelligence. Artificial means not natural, but done usually by humans. Now, what is intelligence? Many definitions, and no time for it, but I will use something presented by Stuart Russell, a British computer scientist and developer of AI, professor at Berkeley, and a great author of Human Compatible. I really recommend the book. And he writes, humans are intelligent to the extent that our actions can be expected to achieve our objectives. Which means we are intelligent as so far as we are able to act successfully. Machines, unlike humans, do not have their own objectives. Humans give them objectives to achieve. And that goes to my first question to you. What are the objectives that we would like an intelligent machine to have? What are our most urgent objectives that we should press high techs to develop?
You decide.
Why not now from the right to left?
I turn again. Yeah. So I will make the link to what I explained, what I just showed to you. I think one of the most important tenets of intelligence as a human being is the ability to discriminate between what's good and what's bad, and to make fair decisions. In the examples I showed you, where someone where his photo was rejected simply because he looked like that. This is the next step of what I expect AI systems to be able to deal with, that is being discriminated in their judgment and in their predictions.
Okay, thank you. Mirek?
Well, I probably would say a little bit more, but I would start from first. I don't agree with this definition of intelligence. Okay.
That's where philosophy starts.
Okay. Second, I'm not sure if I agree with your.
Oh my God! Yes.
Because first and foremost, I will start. Sorry for a little bit longer. I hope that I will not make over time. First and foremost, as you know, we in AI, until at least some time, were looking into Turing definition of AI. Okay, and this Turing test. Okay, that was a kind of the mechanism in which people for generations were assessing the value of the artificial intelligence model. And what we know now, for sure, which I have no time to argue right now, but we can discuss that at any time, is that Turing definition of intelligence absolutely doesn't say true about intelligence. So the fact that some game can pretend that it acts as a human is far from intelligent behavior, as we know from the psychology, philosophy, and other domains related to humans. And one aspect of that, particularly important in the era of large language models, is that language as expression in text, which we use in LLMs and all these stories, is only, in my opinion, actually, read about that, we can discuss that, 25 to 30% of the intelligent communication. As we all know, we can intelligently communicate with a person without any word. Right? We can actually sometimes to communicate more in silence than using words too much. Or these all the elements that we also have, and they are very well known, body language and the emotions that we express and many, many things, they add this specific factor to human communication, which is so far very hard to replicate by machines and is not yet there in these models. I mean, I know that it can be, because vectors in the vector space can potentially encode something like that, but it is far from that. So when we take this into the account, that intelligence is something more than what we have in AI, I wanted to say that what I actually expect, and in answering your question, is that humans who create AI models will have this deeper humanistic understanding that all these things that are important for us as intelligent, emotional, and sensible and conscious people is beyond these things that we have in the current AI models. And if we understand that, we need to use all these other qualities to make these models responsible. Okay, and that's what is my main message on the country policy, international organization, international stage. My voting at this moment is only keep AI under control. Develop wise regulations. Some people don't like regulations. Some people say, oh, these European regulations are bureaucrats that are sitting there and do something. But guys, if we don't do that, we are really going into the trap that that algorithms, which are alien intelligence, as Harari would say, will literally kill our communications. So we need to develop measures to stop them from doing that. And that's what is this last answer. What I expect is not from machines, from algorithms, but from humans that build them, to respect and build wise regulations that do not curb innovation, but which don't allow these objects to take control over our dialogue, for example.
You may not agree with me, but I do agree with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have some more technical point of view. I'm an engineer, so from my point of view, we should distinguish two things. The first one is how we build models. And this is some kind of science. So we create proper structures, we put some proper parameters for models, and this is very technical level. And in this case, the main objective is to build models which satisfy our knowledge, technical knowledge about hardware and software. And the second thing is how we train the model, because very important thing is what data we use to train the model. And this is the main problem, because if we build a model from the technical point of view, it is no problem, because we have standard tools to build models, but everything depends on data. And in this case, the objective is to use proper data according to a given domain where models will be used. So this is the main problem, I think.
So Mirek talked about responsibility, and I guess that your value, your highest value, is just knowledge, right?
Yeah, knowledge and using proper data, because sometimes we train the model on data, but we don't understand what is the quality of data, where data are proper for solution a given problem, and so on.
Okay, after that, what's your response? What are the objectives that we should be interested in also?
All right, first of all, intelligence for me is not equal to human, right? This is the first thing. Intelligence is just the feature of some agent to learn and adapt to the environment, right? Bees are intelligent. Beetles are intelligent. They observe stars and they know where to go. If you change the environment, they know how to, correct the action and go to some goal. So intelligence can be linked to many agents, and absolutely we make system to achieve some goals. Unfortunately, sometimes when I go to the companies and we ask ourselves, why you wish AI? Oh, because it's fancy. That's probably not the reason why AI should be implemented in the companies. AI is not a gadget, maybe for some customers, but not for all of them. We should know what we wish to achieve with AI, right? So we wish to know how to learn, what data I need, why I wish to use it, and why I cannot do it personally, right? So this is absolutely the very first thing. And when we are talking about this responsibility, I would definitely say that we wish to achieve a system that is not too much persuasive for us, and I believe that this is also something what Mirek said, and what is generally the idea. Because AI system can be absolutely excellent if, for instance, you have obesity. We can make the system persuasive, so you got the recommendation, and then you're losing your wife, right? So this is the goal. Unfortunately, this persuasiveness can be also dangerous if we wish, for instance, to sell you something that you don't want to buy. And there is a lot of legend about people who are going to the lakes because they were persuaded, or AI, Google was too persuasive, and they believed it was true, that they're going the right direction. So what we try to think is, first of all, these competences that make us somehow understandable for AI, but also that we can achieve some goals that we have.
So you mean make us better, but not overwhelm us? Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. To create some kind of the synergy that the technology, AI can enhance us, but not completely destroy our, human part of nature that we have.
Abilities. Yeah. Okay, terrific. So now my second question. How should we respond to problems already being caused by AI, such as social medias or AI biases, or any other that you can observe? Krzysztof, can we start with you?
Okay, I can start. So
I have no answer.
Now the middle.
I will return to the previous my opinion. So first of all, such problems don't come from a technical part of the AI. So because majority of AI tools are built using very general rules according to structures according to algorithms. So in this case, there is no influence of algorithms and structures to results of AI, bad results of AI. So we must change data which are used to train the model. This is the, in my opinion, the solution. Because we don't need to change approaches to build large language models and so on. We must change data which are used to train the models.
Mirek?
Oh, Krzysztof, I do not agree. Sorry, I'm contended on this. It's not enough because in the era of generative AI, you can create data, and actually generation of data is one of the goals of generative AI, as we know, to such extent that this data will not be distinguishable from real data, from data which is legitimate, which is proper and somehow represents the reality which you investigate. And you can feed this data to the model, and what it come out, it comes complete distortion of the higher level of the reality. So I think that just making that better because of better data is not enough, in my opinion. Another story is that the notion of getting something like root truth of the data is also very difficult. And I will come back to my vision is that at this time not on the regulatory level of countries, now at the level of companies. As we have compliance, like for example, Mako Lab is TISAX, Mako Lab is ISO compliant, so there is a lot of rules. Some of them are boring, some of them are difficult, and I was always a little bit skeptical about some of these actions, and I was voting for some other approach to that. But in this era of AI, I started to develop the notion that we actually must develop a new kind of internal compliance in our organizations. Those companies that build and those companies that use AI. Let me give you a very concrete example. We are a company that is building software and now is building AI tools. If we have a client who comes to us and tries to build a big model for example, classifying people based on something like some of these examples that you said, we should be extremely careful and make all the possible steps in the compliance, how it will be used, and literally not engage ourselves in doubtful projects. Guys, remember that we live in democracies. What that means? It means that, okay, some of us can love current government, some of us can love future governments, past governments, and as we know from our recent past, some of these governments are not really keeping rules of the privacy, of the, democratic rules in the same way. So if we build such a tool that is on the boundary of a legal or good use, that tool may find its use in some other hands that would use that against us later. So this answer to this is that I think that we on the level of companies, both building and using this tool, must develop new kind of rules to prevent misuse of AI on a very, very deep level, because that's much more dangerous than anything we had in the past, beyond social media, beyond bots, and all these things. This is the very urgent topic which I will be discussing with people who are building AI, compliance and AI in Mako Lab, and I am somehow doing that right now lightly, but we will be going into this next year in which much forceful agenda. So that's one. Second, that's only hope, okay, not any kind of advice or suggestion. I hope that these foundational models, OpenAI and all these things, will not follow the path of search engines. As we know now, like it or not, but Google dominated almost everything, right, in search. We have some other models, sure, and we in Mako Lab worked with the other search engines, like building schema.org, okay, for Google actually, for kind of consortium of these big engines. Then it was even the time when Russia was still on the normal side of the world, so we also work with Yandex on that, okay, how to do that. But it was still that many, okay? It's crazy. Now there is one hope, is that number of these foundational models is big. We saw it today in Piotr's presentation. Unfortunately, we see that some of these models are on the top, and we obviously know that OpenAI chat is majority of the users in the public sphere. So on that level, what I hope, because I have no influence on that, okay, but I hope that we will end up in the world where these financial models will be many, that there will be true plurality, because if there will be too little of them, the ability of this model to distort reality is 10 times higher than the ability of Google to distort reality. That's what I said. So company, internal compliance, very strong, and on the bigger level, just a hope, okay, that world will not follow the path of monopolization of search engines.
Okay, thank you. Arthur, what do you think?
Really, it came back to me.
Yes, it did.
What a surprise.
Yes.
I'm not jealous with the decision that you have to make, all of you, managing the companies. Because on one side we say we should be responsible, data should be traceable, we should protect the data, we should follow the standards. On the other hand, we have China that has no standards. And we have all of these solutions coming here, and you have to compete with these solutions, right? So to tell you the truth, I'm not jealous, because the decision that you have to make, what you're going to do, what you aim to do, is really very, very difficult, right? If we go to China, we can pay by face. Last book shows that China is making the scans of the genotype of the minorities that are living in China. They're able to forecast if you will pay back, for instance, the loans, or if you have lovers, or how many children do you have, and so on. It's not easy, because these companies are coming to our market, and in fact they are your direct competitors, right? We used to talk with Professor in the meantime about the company in the United States, 123 and Me, and this was the company that was scanning your gens to tell you if you will, for instance, have an Alzheimer in 20 years, right? Fine, lovely, you paid, you got some information, this is how the business model used to work. Unfortunately, the company bankrupted. And now the Chinese people aim to buy the data. And you know how it works. You want to have an insurance, you go and you wish to take an insurance, and someone has the data that you will have an Alzheimer, so you will have to pay more. And look, the Chinese people will have this data, or Chinese companies, but you will not have, because you follow some regulations. So I would say two steps. I completely agree with Mirek that we should definitely work on the regulation, and we should be ethical for our customers, for our employees. On the next level, we should also take into account that as the big companies and as public sector, we should work on some regulations showing our interdependencies with the companies, who we are working with, how the data are repurposed for any projects, right? How it is, and I believe that without the involvement of the public sector, and probably not only in Poland, because this is the case of the United States, of the European Union, and we have a lot of agents that should make this decision. You alone, you're just part of the agents who are involved in this decision making, but it is not easy. So from the point of view of customers, fine, right? But how to rearrange our environment so we are sure that we can compete and we can work on the market, and in a moment it will be not the Chinese companies who will operate here, and they will not care for any responsibility or any responsible data, but work in the case or in the field that is fair.
Okay, Ashwin.
So I have the easy task of summarizing what has been said before, but I will try to be inventive and to be creative and find something new. So, but firstly, I think, as my colleagues have said, regulation plays a very important point. And the EU has been one of the few, if not the only jurisdiction with an AI Act. The UK has not an act, but a document stating how AI should be regulated with no legal effect. The US had a bill, I guess, and from my recent trip to South Korea and Japan, they are also looking towards the draft of bills to regulate foundation models, which we just heard a few talks before, I think. So things are moving, But the EU, luckily, is the only jurisdiction, not luckily, but is the only jurisdiction that has a proper AI Act to regulate AI. And the system that you mentioned from China, the facial recognition system, so under the EU AI Act, it will be classified as systems that are unacceptable within the EU jurisdiction. So regardless of where your provider comes from, as long as he or it operates on the EU soil within this jurisdiction, then you have to comply or abide to the EU AI Act. So we are quite protected by this EU AI Act. As you said, we may love it or not, but it's here as a safeguard. Then the second point, which I think you mentioned, was about training data, which is also extremely important, because you would know that most text that exists on the internet is not gender neutral. And some research in the past have shown, if you take word embeddings, so word vectors, you try to find out which words are more similar to the words he. You would find words like maestro, warrior, financial, venture capitalist, and so on. On the other hand, you try to find out which words are most linked to the word she. You would find hairdresser, housekeeper, nurse. Without being discriminatory, this is how the texts that we have currently today are written, and all our methods are trained on such text. So obviously, the models by themselves, they are not biased, they just repeat what they have learned without any discrimination. But again, luckily for us, research is advancing in some direction. Now, when we learn about text, about language, we try to make the language as gender neutral as possible, because in the end, as Mirek said, they are all vectors, so we try to find a middle ground between those different vectors. If you work with LLMs, you have a number of parameters that you can choose, creativity, top tier sample, and so on, to make your text more creative and hopefully less gender biased. So research is moving in that direction, but I think that one solution would be stronger regulation against the misuse of AI systems for discriminatory and biasing effects. And secondly, we have to be very careful on which data we train, because not only being gender biased, our data, we don't know the source of the data. So far, we don't get too much from where our data comes from. Is it already biased or not? We would never know. So we have to be very careful on how we train those AI systems as well. And unfortunately, with systems like GPT now, we have very limited understanding on what they have been trained on.
And whom we believe, right? I
Yes,
mean, because we have this
believe.
tendency, I guess, that we believe AI systems or chats because they are a kind of authority, or they are becoming one as machines and not people. But the biases behind them are just the same as you said, because they are based on what we've already produced before.
Yeah.
Krzysztof?
Okay, so I think that the model and algorithm are neutral. So the problem is how we teach. It is very similar to teach human, because we cannot change the brain, or it is very difficult to change the brain, but we can change teaching. So this is the main solution, in my opinion.
Mirek, did you want to add something?
I think that in general, there are. I would like to say in that we still do not know the proper tools to handle these realities. That's the one statement that I want to say, and that we need to develop. And again, I stress again this role of internal compliance and regulatory, as you said, and it's very important. However, I would add in this point that some element of uncertainty. We really don't know what will be the effect of the large language models and all these new AI tools, say 3-5 years from now. Why we don't know? Because there is this famous story that we learned about the communication tools, which is called the network effect, right? I mean, we have value of a network scaling with n square of the number of users, because people can communicate directly between them using these networks. So the value of a network is n square of the number. The fundamental thing about AI models is that we still have n square of the number of users, but also the model learns from our interaction. There is this human-in-the-loop model already applied by OpenAI and everybody. So actually this scalability of a value, which is, I say, not necessarily in the positive sense, is much, this scalability is higher than the standard network model. That causes the situation that I cannot say what to develop for the future. I don't believe that just doing that on the data science or doing that on the algorithm science is enough. Temporarily, these regulatory things will help, particularly against such models like this famous or infamous Chinese approach to identity of people. But what we shall expect in the future, I must say at this moment, I don't know yet. And this unknown is that if you go deeper into this domain, you see that there are some fundamental things which are very hard to predict. Like a recent OpenAI chain of thought models that was mentioned by Piotr, okay, where you have the going with beyond pure language model in that, and you go into some semantics of the sentences and everything, somehow independent of the language, is a kind of a direction that nobody can predict. And if you go to OpenAI testing of this O1 preview and you see that the model performs much better than almost any person who is passing the what is this famous legal exam in America, you know, this state level, not the university.
The bar exam, right?
SAT. No, but for lawyers there is another one.
Okay, no.
They have this exam, or they have a 3 letters exam.
On the bar exam.
Yes, bar exam, exactly. So that models perform better today. Okay, they perform better than alumni of the Olympics in maths and biology and all these things. So that's a signal of what is to coming. And I just must say, honestly, if I say honestly, I have no clue what to do about that. Maybe you have some clue. I don't know. Just.
I would add just one thing, because we are talking a lot about data, that data should be clean data, right? And it's absolutely very, very important that data is clean, and all of you who are working with the data science project, you know that to have a clean data, it consumes probably the biggest amount of time, right? The algorithm is just the end, and it's just a small % of everything. Well, but we have also the other problem, like who is making technology, right? The first one, data, and then who is making technology. Especially when this is not just software but also hardware. I mean that this is like when we create this technology with AI, we work on the intersectionality, right? So if your customer, for instance, is a white male, then it's nice that white males are creating the technology. While if your customers are diverse, it's nice to involve women, the people of different color schemes, and so on. And the best example is like the soap dispenser in the United States, who was designed by the white males. And it was lovely. It was working very well for the white males, but not for the Afro-Americans. Because they were not aware that, for instance, the color of the skin can make the dispenser not working anymore. So it's not, it was absolutely the case like this. The Afro-Americans were going to the toilets and it was not working, right? It was just for the white skin, because it was, for them it was obvious who was creating this for whom, right? So maybe this is also the positive aspect of AI, that we should work also on this diversity, that we should involve into these activities like different people with different background, and always these projects work better. So if we have the diverse team and we have clean and diverse data, this is probably where the systems are working in the best way.
Yeah. But if I react to what you say, I think that still puts us into controlling that thing, okay? Because if we leave it as it is, to some groups that are unconscious what they do and unaware properly about that, we are in danger. And that's actually what the absolutely amazing author that Piotr mentioned as well here, Noah Harari, was recently in his absolutely amazing book Nexus, which I really advise everybody to read, because Nexus shows that AI, as internet, as computers before, as printing before, is not a value in itself. It's not something that is the truth of anything. It's nexus, it's chain, it's connection between people and groups, or groups like countries and nation states and their citizens, okay? And the real dynamics is on understanding that that this connection, I mean, us controlling these things on the company level, or the country level, and this is this thought maybe that I would, the only thought I could add, that we need to understand that we are in control and must stay in control.
That reminds me of a song by Sting, where the line is, "I hope that Russians love their children too." I don't know. The history shows that maybe not. But I still hope that Chinese do love their children, and that we can invent a system, and also legal system, like we did with the nuclear power stations and nuclear weapons. We are trying. Yeah.
Okay, let's hope. After recent news,
They still have
last
one
few days.
child, so they have to take her.
Good. Let's come to my last question. What are your personal experiences of AI having an influence on your own life? Whether good or bad, I'm not judging. But what's your personal... Okay. Artur, we'll start with you. From left to right now.
This time. Right. Well, both like good points and bad points. Right. The bad points, for instance, that when I used to buy from Amazon, for example, and the recommendation the system is giving me, sometimes I'm not, see the book that I would love to see. So sometimes the system is not predicting well what I would love to see, and I still, fortunately, have to talk to my colleagues about the recommendation, like a personal recommendation, and this is absolutely great. So this is both positive and negative. Positive is also for me on the road, because it helps me definitely to find the way, well, to go home or even to achieve this place in a more comfortable way. So this is absolutely a very big plus. Negative things is, for instance, the bots, who are very easily made. And well, I also experience when I wish to go somewhere and I try to differentiate if the recommendation to go to the restaurant was written by human or not by human, then, well, I'm a little bit lost, because I never know if this 1 or 2 stars is really the reason of the competitiveness, or it was really human who said that these burgers were really not good, do not go there. But on the other hand, I treat it also as a very good point, because, well, if I would only follow the recommendations, presumably I would not check a lot of things that happen. So this time, like, my personal recipe is to just to check, like, try to talk to the other people, and do not read the system. Just.
Okay, Krzysztof?
So, in my situation, I can see that I'm on one side of the AI, because I create some AI tools, solutions, and I'm also academic teacher, so I teach about artificial intelligence, and this is my main area with artificial intelligence. And in fact, I don't use artificial intelligence tools. It is,
That's a kind of
Yeah.
recommendation.
You've got enough on your property.
yeah, I have only one point of view, and it is difficult to see artificial intelligence in other side.
Irek, how about you?
well, on this side, I say that actually these tools that are large language model, I use them, and as I speak English, I write in English for years, but I am not native. So when I write a very complicated text, I absolutely am not shy from using ChatGPT with one particular prompt: correct this. Okay. And let me tell you, I am absolutely not ashamed. I am not feeling bad about that, but I keep strict control of what is generated, because sometimes these hallucination effects change the text. So every time you need to read that. But from the pure a grammatic perspective for non-English speaker, okay, or not native English speaker, that helps me infinitely. And of course, all these things like navigation and whatnot, that goes without telling. So this is very nice. I also have a private project, which is biblical project, and actually cooperate with Krzysztof on that, where we try to restore 5 books of the Bible that were translated by very little known rabbi in Poland on the boundary of 19th and 20th century, who translated all the Bible directly from Hebrew to Polish, but 5 books were burned during Holocaust in Warsaw, okay, in the Warsaw Uprising. So we try to restore them, and this is another positive effect, because it's difficult. We, I think, do for 2 years, right? And some models are completely doing garbage, I can tell you. And even today, this ChatGPT with style, mimic, and other models are still far from excellency, but we see the light. I mean, this light comes from the moment when these tools start to see higher level of language beyond words, which is known, as we know, a style, right? It's a stylistic feature of a text. And these models are capable to different extent. So this is quite pleasant. When I think about the what I don't like, what I see as a dangerous, that's when I put my hat of citizen. I am really afraid of state of our, don't shy from using high words, of our democracy,
Yeah,
literally.
absolutely.
Because I am literally afraid that the extent to which this genetic model can create realities which have nothing to do with realities, and which try to create this nexus with people in these echo chambers in a much stronger way than Facebook did in the past, and other social media, is extremely dangerous. And even if I don't think about every day, that's answering a question. Yes, that's a part where I am feeling uncertain, uneasy, and sometimes horrified even by what I see. Okay.
Absolutely, especially with elections. I mean, let's say in
Oh,
the states, but also with
Yeah, like
government
for example, in 2016, we knew quickly after the election, or was during that, they were manipulated in states. Okay, we knew that Brexit was manipulated. We found all these reports, not very much known in the public, but very qualified reports. That was the truth. See, guys, nothing is popping up right now in US where it's such a contested race, right? We don't hear that. I believe that we will learn down the road what was used. Is it used? For sure. How? Nobody knows. At least I don't know. Maybe you heard something. I didn't see anything. I see competition, but to what extent AI is used in these things, I still don't know. So there is a little bit of the danger in that kind of aspects.
So the biggest danger, I guess, is that it's so perfect in what it's doing. Yes, that we've been manipulated, of course, always as language exists, but now it's done so perfectly because of the psychological models, for example, of our characters,
Yes.
and also it reflects on what we do in the internet and how we use it, what we look at, what we read, and it responds. Right?
Yeah.
Ashley?
Yeah, thank you. Even if I knew Mirek, I wouldn't have told you what's happening, right?
Okay.
No, but that being said, so about AI, personally, it's my daily bread, so I cannot say anything wrong about that. But I see a number of good points, because as my colleagues have said just before me, in terms of productivity, AI tools really help us to get more and more productive for writing, for the legal document processing, like I showed with the reporting obligations, for detecting weak signals to know where you put your investments. So it's amazing in terms of business and in terms of enhancing productivity in general. Personally, for me, I find it quite useful for my driving my car, for Spotify, and so on, as my colleagues have highlighted. On the negative side, I haven't experienced any negative aspect of AI probably yet, but I do see sometimes on Facebook lots of advertisements for political parties, for different products, and if we are not discriminate, as if we are not cultured, we don't read around, we will tend to make the wrong decisions. But ultimately, it's also up to us to double check and to verify what is being recommended to us, even though it may sound extremely persuasive, as my colleague has said in a few minutes before me. But so far for me, good points about productivity, about helping me in my daily life, making mundane tasks much more easier to do. On the negative sides, I haven't experienced anything negative as of now. So far it has been quite pleasant, but just be wary about the persuasive effect that AI might have.
We just still don't know really what they are yet.
I will tell you later, since you are persuasive enough.
Okay.
So there is this amazing book by, oh now I forgot, Anxious Generation, anyway, the title is, an American psychologist, Jonathan Haidt. And he works especially on teenagers. I don't know how many of you have children. I do, at the age of 18 and 20. And I think it's really observable how, when their brain has been developing with new technologies, it has really developed differently from ours. Yes, even if we use social medias, even if we use phones and so on all the time, our brain had already developed before that great technology, but theirs do not. So I think a separate topic is what we can do to our kids and how to protect them and how to build a safer world for them. Terrific. We still have 2.5 minutes, and that's like a perfect ending because we can have some questions.
Mirek, who will win the US elections?
Oh, gee!
Even AI.
I wake up at 2 a.m. almost every night of my own stress, okay, over my startup. And to forget this stress, I look into CNN, Fox, and something, and I try to get a clue. No clue.
No.
I have one question according to your first question. Because I know that intelligence is also our adaptation for new situation. But in my understanding, there is some instinct, and I would like to understand what is the difference between instinct and intelligence. And I hope that never nobody design any artificial instinct, because this could be, in my understanding, danger for people, for humans.
Well, it's hard to say. On one side, absolutely, these current models that we have, even the most advanced model, this reasoning is far from instinct, okay? But some of the models that were developed even before, Jan, we were discussing this lady Picardi from MIT. What was the domain she developed? Affective computing. Affective computing, and you could be surprised. I mean, if you Google affective computing, Picardi, I think her name, she's developing this model of affection, how to model affections, how to model this kind of feelings inside computers, and she was quite successful both on the theoretical side of this early AI. At that time, the AI was mostly symbolic, so there was not too many things of machine learning yet at that time when she started, and she was quite successful to build some software solutions, some devices that were using these kind of mechanisms for reading affections. So I wouldn't say that that these models are not very very far. They might converge. However, some aspects of our even language, as I tested, I forgot to say this earlier. Guys, there is a phenomenon in our language, in our life, which everybody knows and we forget that it exists. It's called metaphor. We speak in metaphors, okay? There is a lot of metaphors, also on the political battlefield, okay? A lot of metaphors. Take this, they ate our cats, right? That's what it is, okay? Because beyond the being slender, right? But and I tried to investigate that, how AI is coping with metaphor. We're coping very poorly.
Yeah, definitely.
Very poorly. So these language models are capable because they can take these both sides of a metaphor. I mean, the sentence, the language that is metaphorical, and the factual language, and they bring the connection, but they are not doing that well yet. So my answer to your question is that we should be careful because some of these domains like affective computing are coming close. On the other side, a lot of things that we humans developed over history, like metaphors, are very purely represented. So is it good or not? Yours to say, okay?
Maybe it will distinguish us from them at some point.
Perhaps,
Yeah, sure.
perhaps.
Okay, thank you so much. It was really a fascinating
Somebody
discussion.
wanted to ask
Thank you.
question?
If we have time, we can, absolutely. We run out of time, but
Coffee break.
Yeah.
if you want to take some time from the coffee break.
Or even discuss during coffee break, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you so much.